It's me, Vicki Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So in today's video, we are going to talk about this girl, Virginia. This was Virginia all those years ago. Bless her. I've been thinking about her so much because, of course, her book has come out today. More revelations, about this horrible prime minister that abused her, about Andrew Windsor, who turns out apparently participated, according to Virginia, in this orgy with all these other girls and Epstein himself. So, I'll be referring to Andrew as Andrew Windsor from now on. He's not a prince, he's not a duke, he's nothing. He's just a horrible, horrible man. And of course, this man, the ghost of Christmas past, I hope he's spinning in hell. I feel like I need to put him in the hellhole, even though technically he hasn't actually murdered anybody. Or has he though? We just don't know, don't we? Do we? I mean, there's such a pile of bodies behind, along the line in this case. Who knows what's happened to these people? But in this video that I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to concentrate on the woman, the madam, there's always something worse, the double deviant. So it's bad enough what Epstein did. In trafficking women, abusing women. But when you've got a woman who participates in it as well, she's the double deviant, isn't she? This is Ghislaine. Look at the way he's got his arm around her neck there, He owned her, he possessed her. I can't decide whether I should feel a little bit sorry for Ghislaine, because she's, her whole life, really, she has been controlled by sort of rich, horrible men. But then, of course, she's consented to that control. She didn't break away from it like Virginia broke away from it, didn't she, when she got to a certain age? Virginia went along with it. Most girls that are trafficked, groomed, and boys, they do go along with it in the beginning. It's easy to turn a young person's head. That's why these offenders go for young people, because they couldn't turn an older person's head. The older people are too wise. But Ghislaine never seemed to wise up, did she? She's in her 60s now and she's still not really any wiser. Whereas Virginia did get out of it. But poor Virginia, she just couldn't escape from the legacy that it gave her. And, reading more excerpts from her book, etc. She didn't have a very happy life. And don't forget, she was only 41 when she died this year. Was she pushed or did she fall? No, I heard that she actually HUNG'd herself. Because there hasn't been loads of details given out about Virginia's death and how she deleted herself. But apparently that's what she did. Now, that's quite unusual for women to do that. I'm not saying they never do it, but it's an unusual choice of self-deletion for a woman. But it also is the easiest way to cover up a red rum, isn't it? Especially a strangulation. I don't know. I don't know whether Virginia did it to herself. I'm very surprised she didn't wait for the book to come out. Who knows what was going on in her head, but, or was it more than that? I just don't know, honestly. It just seems all these mysterious hangings behind this case. You've got Epstein, you've got the other guy in the French prison, and now Virginia, all self-deleting in the same manner. It's quite scary, isn't it? In fact, it's very scary. And I think instead of this story dying down, it's getting worse and worse, isn't it? It's getting much worse, I think. But anyway, you'll all let me know what you think. So we're going to concentrate on Ghislaine more in this video, talking about her trying to understand her, where she comes from, why she ended up the way, in the position that she's in now. And she still seems a little bit oblivious about it all. And then if we've got time, I'm going to start, because, I'm definitely going to be covering the interview that she did with the Department of Justice. But it's a long, it was over 2 days, so we're going to do it in installments. If I've got time, I'll do the first installment today. If not, I might have to start that in a separate video. Okay, so first of all, thank you to everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. Very special thank you to my members. You are the mainstay of my channel. Only 2 days and it's members live again. And so thank you. Thank you to people who PayPal me or have bought me Ko-Fis, sent me nice emails. Any of you that are members of my Discord, thank you so much for supporting my channel in any way that you do. Thank you. Sorry, just let me take off that banner. So, hello, lovely lurkers. Thank you for watching. That's those people who like to watch the lives but don't like to join in the chat. Thank you to Replay Crew. Thank you so much for watching. And now I'm going to come into the chat and say hello to those of you who are brave enough to put your head above the parapet and join in the chat, and thank you for all doing that and all being so respectful to each other and building this lovely community that we have. Sorry, I've got a million things going through my head at the moment, mainly my car, which is still not repaired. And I was thinking about that, someone like Ghislaine or Jeffrey or Andrew or Fergie, any of these people, they've never had to worry about their car breaking down and not having a car, have they? The worst thing they've got to worry about is, lying on an island naked with their boyfriend. Now, I wanted to show this picture of Ghislaine. There's quite a lot of pictures out, much more suggestive than this. And they were hung around the Jeffrey's mansion, weren't they? Or is it a mansion that he's got on the island? I don't know. But anyway, nude pictures of Ghislaine. And I just wanted to point out, because, of course, Ghislaine is an older lady, or she is now. But the thing is, she's very slight, isn't she? That may, for someone like Epstein, he likes young girls, not mature women, with their lumps and bumps, etc. And Ghislaine, really, she's very slight, very slender lady. So, I just think these kind of people, that's what they're attracted to. Now, personally, I think whenever I've seen pictures of Ghislaine with Epstein, she looks totally besotted by him. I think she was besotted by him. I don't know if he was genuinely in love with her. I mean, she was convenient to him because she introduced him to society that he would never have had a chance of getting to know before, would he? He wouldn't have ever been able to get into royal circles. She was a socialite and she moved in those circles. And she was the open door for him into the circles that he wanted to go in, so that he could, collect his members of the royal family, collect his politicians, all these famous people, and then blackmail them probably later. So, but I do think that Ghislaine really was in love with him. Whether he was in love with her, I just don't know. I have no idea. Was he in love with her, or was she just a convenient tool? So this was Ghislaine years ago, so she was quite, posing for these sort of raunchy pics. Here she's got her stars and stripes on, but yeah, she's very slender, so she's got a very girlish body, and that perhaps was what he found attractive, because he only likes girls. So, just something I wanted to point out before I start. Yeah, I think she was genuinely in love with him. Well, of course, the money would have helped as well. Oh, look, yeah, here's Andrew and Fergie having a great time at the funeral recently. Just totally, these people, just awful, aren't they? Awful people. Anyway, let's carry on saying hello to everybody. I got sidetracked there, which is not unusual for me. Hi, Lily. Hi, David. Hi, Julie. Hi, Blue. Yeah, no, Julie, it's still broken. Just trying to get somebody out to look at it, and just Carl's a nightmare. Anyway, but thanks for asking. Hi, Joanna. So yeah, going back to these pictures, let's have a look at it. I'm going to put a picture up while I talk about her. Let's see, which one should we have? I think we'll have this picture up, because I think to understand Ghislaine and why she would have gone along, is she just a narcissist also, complete narcissist? Or is it her daddy issues? Because her dad, Robert Maxwell, he was a very, very similar character to Epstein. A bad man, just only interested in himself. He had lots of affairs, didn't he, as well? Treated her mother, there was domestic violence, I think, in her mother and father's relationship. So Ghislaine, she hasn't been brought up, if you like, in a normal environment, whatever that is. And really, her job has always been a socialite, hasn't it? Or something. Has she ever had like a normal job? I don't think so. She wouldn't need to, would she? If daddy's a millionaire, why would you need to have a normal job? And of course, she was daddy's girl. The yacht that he eventually died on, or fell off and died, if again, he was another mysterious death, was called the Ghislaine, wasn't it? The yacht that he had, that for some unknown reason, I think he wasn't sailing it alone. Anyway, we're going to look into that. We'll look into that as we go on. So I'm just going to talk about Ghislaine a little bit, because I just wanted to try and understand a little bit more about her, her motives. Because if she was in love with Epstein, which I think she probably was, she always looked so adoringly at him. How could she tolerate? How could a woman tolerate the man that she loved asking her to recruit young girls so that they could have orgies with Prince Andrew, or Andrew Windsor, as I should be calling him now? How if you loved a man so much, I could not tolerate him being with another woman. I just couldn't bear it. I'm much too jealous for that. I couldn't. Oh my God, even just the thought of it, I couldn't cope with it. But she went along with it, maybe she was just so desperate to keep hold of him. Was she so desperate to keep hold of him? Hi, Heather. And yeah, Blue, you're right. Why has she got these stars and stripes things on? Oh, there's some very weird photos of Ghislaine floating about. As I say, these ones on the beach, these are the more, what's the word? More conservative ones. I mean, around Epstein's cabana or whatever, there are much more graphic ones, graphically showing. Well, put it this way, she didn't have a Brazilian. Maybe Brazilians weren't in. Is it Brazilian when you take it all off? I don't know. But anyway, she didn't. So it must have been when hairstyles down there were different, because, God, I'm trying to say this in a discreet way, but I think you know what I mean. And she's naturally dark, let's put it that way. Yeah, photos of her all over the cabana or whatever. But I suppose if they're a couple, so couples do that sort of thing. She obviously was never expecting those photos to be all over the internet, seen all over the world by people, because makes you work. Sometimes you think it's a good job we can't look into the future, really, because her future was sort of this, wasn't it? And of course she's currently in prison, but is she though? I mean, it's not a proper prison, is it? She's in an open prison, and not an open prison, a more relaxed prison now. She's probably having a great time in prison. And she may get a pardon. They're talking about Donald Trump pardoning her. Will he pardon her? Can he? I mean, this whole thing is crazy, really, isn't it? And I'm starting to think, I just don't think, for the royal, as far as the British royal family is concerned, I think they're mistaken if they think it's going to go away. It's not going to go away. And I think it might lead to even more problems for the royal family. And do you know what? If in my lifetime the royal family is removed, that would make me so happy, because I never thought that would happen. But now I don't know. People are even starting to question Queenie now, because at the end of the day, she would have known about all this. She gave him the £12 million, gave Andrew £12 million to pay off Virginia. Where did she get that from? Was that public money? People are even questioning the Queen's integrity. Why can't I can't say that word? Integrity. And that's unheard of, isn't it, really? The Queen's never really had her integrity questioned much. A little bit with Diana. When Diana died, I think people questioned she was so cold about it, or wasn't she? Actually, I've got a photo here I'm going to show you. I need to just take some other photos off because I've got too many photos up there. Oh, I've got a lot of files up there. Anyway, sorry. So, yeah, people starting to question Queenie even. That's very unusual. What did she know? Why did she give him £12 million to pay off Virginia if there was nothing, he paid off a woman that he supposedly never even met? Very strange. And Queenie knew about it. Her favoured son. And it's ironic, isn't it, really? Because he probably wanted to pay that money to make it all go away. But of course, doing that, didn't make it go away. In fact, it's made it worse. Because people want to know, why would he pay all that money to a person that didn't even know? So this is a photo that's going, or two photos that are going around social media. So there you've got Ghislaine and Epstein there and there you've got the Queen. So was this at Balmoral maybe, or wherever. The Queen, what did she know? And what did she condone? Very unusual for now, even people are questioning the Queen's sort of, what's the word, what the Queen knew. Yeah. Do you know what? It goes on and on this, because as I was sort of researching for this video, then more things came up, like about Sarah Ferguson. I've got a video to show you about her as well. There's not enough hours in the day to show you what I want to show you, because this has lurched on for so long, hasn't it? There's so many contradictory statements. It's just like this massive cover up, isn't it, for years and years and years. And it's not going to go away just in like a week or whatever. The royal family might be hoping for that, but it's not going to, because there's too many threads. It's too many and the files haven't been released. So I think if they really want this to go away quick, they need to release the files, just get it over with. It's like, when you take a plaster off quickly, take it off quickly, get the pain over with quickly. That's what they need to do. Get it out of the way. Everyone will be talking about it for 6 months, but then there'll be nothing else to talk about because the files will have been released. As long as those files are not released, this is just going to be a massive talking point, isn't it? And it implicates so many people. It's not going away. Once the Queen starts getting accused of things, brought into it, I just think that's the beginning of the end for the monarchy, to be honest, because the Queen's the only one that's sort of more or less been beyond reproach. And if she's getting criticised, what chance is there for Charlie Boy or even Willie? Willie trying to put himself out there, he's going to be a modern king. But, all the sort of scandals floating around him are going to come out. If they really want this to go away, they've got to just got to, I don't know, abdicate would probably be a good thing. But anyway, right, where am I going to go now? So let's have a look. Sorry, I was just having a look at the chat, make sure I haven't missed anyone coming in. Now, I'm going to put a picture of Ghislaine up, and then I'm going to read you what Wikipedia says about Ghislaine, just so you get a background, because I don't think we know that much about Ghislaine. She's there in the background. She's been in the background of all these things. Of course, she was in the background of the famous photo that sort of started it all, really, didn't it? There she is in the background, and she's still in the background. Now, she's still alive so far. I think it was thought that maybe she might go the same way as Epstein and Virginia. And of course, and the other guy, Brunel, over in France, it was worrying, did she know too much? But anyway, that hasn't happened so far to Ghislaine. She's still in prison, alive, looking for a pardon. But right, I'm just going to have a look at Wikipedia, read to you a few things about Wikipedia. Now, you may know these things already, so sorry if I'm telling you something that you know. But there'll be people out there who don't know. Now I've lost it. Where is it? Disappear. Always amazes me. Where's it gone? That's the interview. Anyway, never mind. I'll find it easy enough. So she was born in 1961, apparently, 25th of December, born on Christmas Day, according to Wikipedia. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know she was a Christmas baby. Let's share the Wikipedia page. Ghislaine Noel Marion Maxwell, born 25th of December 1961. A British former socialite and convicted child sex offender. Yeah, double deviant. It's there are female child sex offenders, of course, but it's just more unusual, that's all. So she's been sentenced to 20 years of imprisonment. So she's going to be, so that was 2021. So, she's going to be old, we could say, when she finally comes out. Let's see if it was the take for 16, 60. She's going to be nearly 80 before she comes out if she doesn't get pardoned. I mean, she looks well for her age. I'll say that for her. I think she looks quite good for her age. But then she's had a nice privileged life, hasn't she? So, as I say, she'd never had to worry about the normal things that we have to worry about, the normal stresses of life. I'm not saying she's not had any stresses, and it must have been very traumatic when her father was found dead like that. And she's even smiling on that mugshot, though, isn't she? Anytime I see her, like when I've watched her, seen photos of her or whatever, she's always sort of a bit smug, isn't she? She doesn't seem to take things seriously. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, very strange. So she was born in France. But she was raised in Oxford in England. Of course, her dad, Robert Maxwell, he is Eastern European. Where was he born? He wasn't born in Britain, was he? Let's have a look. So she was the 9th child. So she's got 8 siblings. The 9th and youngest child of Elizabeth, a French-born scholar, and Robert Maxwell. And Robert Maxwell was born Jan Ludwig Hyman Benjamin Hoch, a Czechoslovakian-born British media proprietor. And her father, so Maxwell, her dad was from a Jewish family, and her mother was of Huguenot, which is French Protestant descent. Maxwell was born 2 days before a car accident that left her 15-year-old brother Michael in a prolonged coma until he died in 1967. And her mother later reflected that the accident had an effect on the entire family, I can imagine. Just shows you, it don't matter how much money you've got, you can't stop these tragedies happening. And surmised that Ghislaine had shown signs of anorexia when she was only a toddler. That's probably why she's so slight, if she's got food issues. And that's definitely, for Epstein, he wouldn't like a curvy woman, would he? He likes young girls. So he'd only be interested in slim, very slender women. So, throughout childhood, she lived with her family in Oxford at Headington Hill Hall. So this was her childhood home, a 53-room mansion where the offices of Pergamon Press, a publishing company run by her father, were also located. The mother said all her children were raised as Anglicans. She attended Oxford High School for Girls, and then at age 9 was enrolled at Edgerley Hall Preparatory School in Somerset, followed by Headington School at age 13. She studied A-levels, went on to earn a degree in modern history with languages from Oxford, and while she was at that college, she fraternised with Boris Johnson and Anna Pasternak. Oh, there you go. All these see how deep all these connections go. She had a close relationship with her father and was reportedly his favourite. She got her first job was training to use a Wang 22. Anyway, never mind. But apparently, her father did not permit her to bring boyfriends home or be seen with them publicly. Now, there's definitely something weird in the relationship with her father. And again, I do think that's contributed towards her relationship with Epstein. Because, she sort of really just went from Robert Maxwell as this sort of weird daddy issue relationship to Epstein. So, prominent figure in the London social scene of the 1980s, and she founded a women's club named after the original Kit Kat Club, worked for the European publication her father had established. These are not real work. This is not real work, is it? Because these are just jobs her dad, sinecures that her dad gave her. He then invited her to the naming in her honour of his new yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, shipyard in the Netherlands. And she spent a lot of time in the 1980s above the yacht, which was equipped with a jacuzzi, sauna, gym and disco. And then apparently Robert Maxwell also tailor-made a New York company for her. But it was not profitable. No, it didn't have to be profitable, does it? When your dad buys you a company, puts you in charge of it, just to give you something to do, really. So you've got a title. It doesn't have to be profitable. So remember Robert Maxwell, he stole all this money from the pensioners, didn't he? He was rooted in scandal, and then he was found deceased. Wasn't he? He was found deceased. Look, November 1991, Robert Maxwell's body was found floating in the sea near the Canary Islands, and the yacht Lady Ghislaine. Was nobody else on that yacht? Anyway, although a verdict of death by accidental drowning was recorded, Ghislaine has since said she believes her father was murdered. And she said in 1997, he did not commit suicide. That was just not consistent with his character. I think he was murdered. And after his death, he was found to have fraudulently appropriated the pension assets of Mirror Group newspapers, a company that he ran and in which he held a large share of ownership to support its share price. And pension funds over £400 million were said to be missing, and 32,000 people were affected. And two of his brothers, Ian and Kevin, two of Ghislaine's brothers, I keep saying Maxwell, I get confused which Maxwell they mean. They were the most involved with their father in daily business dealings, were arrested and charged with fraud. But they were acquitted 3.5 years later in January 1996. So she then moved to the United States, and she had an annual income of £80,000 from a trust fund that had been established in Liechtenstein by her father. I mean, that's terrible, isn't it? You know, if he's stolen all this money from those pensioners, because he had this trust fund, I suppose, in Liechtenstein, it meant it couldn't be touched. You know, she got her money. Anyway, so she worked at a real estate office on Madison Avenue and was reported to be socialising with celebrities. So she was a New York City socialite. And then in 1996, she made headlines when she was arrested for drink driving. And the media reported her occupation as an internet operative, whatever. So, of course, the fateful thing that happened to Ghislaine that was to condition the rest of her life was meeting Jeffrey on the 29th of September 1993, when she was introduced to him by Robert Maxwell. After reportedly she'd had a difficult break up with a Count, Gianfranco Cicogna. Okay, so it was her, of course, I'm not going to read all that. It was her that introduced Epstein and Andrew Windsor. And, you know, I think this is the point with Ghislaine. She did not have a normal life, did she? She couldn't go back to, you know, she couldn't be working in Tesco's and, you know, or doing any other job. There was nothing she could do but be a socialite, because she'd not really done anything. The only job she'd had was, jobs that her father bought for her, company, to run companies that her father owned. She'd never done anything in her own right, had she? So to me, I feel like she just went from Robert Maxwell to Jeffrey Epstein. And he's a guy who's sort of, glamorous lifestyle, paying her, probably paying her to do jobs that weren't really jobs, if that makes sense. Like, did she, how was she going to do anything else in a way? I mean, I'm not trying to feel sorry for her, because she was, at the end of the day, she was his pimp in the end. She found girls for him, didn't she? And she even participated in some of the sex abuse of those girls. So I'm not trying to feel, I'm just trying to understand her as a person. What else could she do? Really? What could she do? And then, of course, once her father died in disrepute like that, let's have a picture of Robert. Yeah, there's no photo of him on there for some reason. I mean, he was a great big whale of a man, literally big, looked like exactly what he was. I mean, this is him when he was younger. He's a bit younger there, but let's have a look at other images of him. Look, he's just a great big, sorry, I mean, I don't want to fat shame him, but he was just a horrible man, and his dyed black hair and his big dyed black eyebrows. What was he doing, trying to look younger? I mean, he wasn't going to look younger, was he? And he was a domestic abuser. He was just horrible. So, and this was Ghislaine's dad. So no wonder she got involved with Epstein, really. I mean, no, she just went from him to him, really, didn't she? And it makes you wonder, was she abused when she was younger by Maxwell? I wouldn't be surprised. Nothing would surprise me what he did. Just wasn't a nice man at all. And to take all that money from the pensioners. So that's another mystery that will probably never be solved, as to whether he was murdered or whether he did delete himself. How did it? Why? What was he doing, floating about on a yacht in the middle of near the Canary Islands? Where were the staff from the yacht? What? I need to perhaps do a video about that one day and look into it properly, because I don't know all the details. I remember it happening because I'm old enough to remember that, because it was all over the newspapers. But I wasn't taking any notice at the time, really, of news and things. Just remember my parents talking about it. Oh, Robert Maxwell's been found drowned. And, there was right from the beginning, people were speculating that it might not have been accidental death. And then, of course, it all came out about the pensioners and the money that he'd stolen. Now, of course, that's not Ghislaine's fault. It's not her fault that her dad was a piece of shit, is it? But you think by now Ghislaine would be more self-aware. You just don't think. I understand when she was young, she didn't know. It's a bit like Andrew Windsor's daughters, Beatrice and Eugenia. You feel sorry for them for when they were young. And they did, it's not their fault they were born into that family. But then when they get older and they're participating in it, and with the knowledge of how horrible it all is, but they're still not condemning it, then you start to think, well, they're just as bad, really. What age does someone get to before you stop seeing them as a victim of their circumstances, and start to realize that actually, they're just as bad as their parents? And maybe it's because that's the only thing they know, but they're not showing any contrition, not showing any sympathy for the victims. Ghislaine has never shown any sympathy for the girls that were trafficked. I think, I mean, I haven't listened to the whole interviews that she gave with the DOJ in depth, just bits of it. But one thing I did hear her say was, oh, well, it was a different time then. It was just a different time, as if, yeah, it was okay to traffic girls then. Now things have changed and you're not supposed to do it anymore. So, yeah, what age does she get to where we start to feel sorry for her, stop feeling sorry for her, as, that she was manipulated by her own father, like these two, the same. What age do you wait till they get to? When you think, right, you're adults now. Are you going to condemn your father for what he did? Or are you just going along with it all? Like it doesn't matter that he abused girls as young as you, or younger than you. So apparently Beatrice and Eugenie cancelled. They were supposed to go to a gala or something over the weekend. They cancelled it. I just can't feel sorry for them because I think they're exactly the same. They're old enough to know better now. Beatrice and Eugenie's best bet would be to do an interview and say how sorry they feel for the victims. Not to defend, their father or their mother, who, also, unfortunately, she's just gone down the same line. Why do these women not stand on their own 2 feet and talk out against these horrible men? All right, they're obsessed with money. That's what it comes down to, money, but only because of the money that they need for the lifestyle that they want. You don't need all that money to have a good life. Don't need millions. I just comes to a point where you do stop feeling sorry for them and wonder why they're not coming out against, this girl, Virginia. She was younger than they are on that photo. They've got to take responsibility at some point, I think, themselves, haven't they? Anyway, yeah, we'll look into Robert Maxwell's death on a separate video, see if we can go. Yeah, because I don't remember all the full details of it. Yeah. Now, I want to show you just a little video that I found of Fergie. Now, I don't know how I'm going to get done for copyright for this, but anyway, never mind. It's fair use. But she did an interview. Oh, press the wrong button. It's quite a few years ago now, when all this... Now, don't forget, when all this first started coming out about Virginia, people didn't believe her. She was made out to be the liar, the manipulator, and certainly the royal family media machine went into full overdrive, trying to discredit Virginia, didn't it? And so I'm going to show you this interview that Fergie made at the time. So it was 10 years ago. Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, not anymore, she still is, but she just can't use it now, comments on her ex-husband Prince Andrew's alleged sex scandal and what it's like to be in the media line of fire. So basically, Sarah did this interview on the Meredith Vieira show. I don't know. Apparently she'd been on there before. She came on this show to try and make people feel sorry for her. So I'll have to stop it on a regular basis, try and avoid the copyright strike, but...
that have surfaced about Prince Andrew, your ex, you call him your favorite ex.
Your favourite ex? Ha 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 ha, yeah, hilarious. So she was split up from Andrew here, but of course they've always been close even. I'm not sure why they split up really. Well, they were, do you know what, these people as well, they're just amoral. They're just shagging like rabbits all over the place. They are. They're sleeping with, they all sleep. It's like this incestuous community. You know, don't forget that Princess Anne, who's probably, you know, the most reputable of the royals at the moment, that don't say much, does it? But she had an affair with Camilla Parker Bowles' husband. They're all at it, all together. You know, it's like, and didn't, like Sarah Ferguson's father, he was a complete, you know, he'd slept with everybody practically. You know, there's like, and didn't, oh, again, that's a whole nother can of worms to open. Who's sleeping with who? They just got no morals whatsoever. And of course, that all started with Prince Philip, really, and Lord Mountbatten. Prince Philip, you know, the Queen's husband, he was a notorious womanizer. You know, they were all the same. Males, females, even Princess Anne there sleeping with Camilla Parker Bowles' husband. You know, they're all entwined in it together. It's horrible, actually. It's horrible, and they all need knocking off their perches. So anyway, here's Sarah thinking it's hilarious to describe Andrew as her favourite ex.
It's from a woman who says that between 1999 and 2002, when she was underage, she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew on several occasions.
So this interviewer says, what you got to say about this? I mean, how can Fergie just ignore it? And her daughters were young then.
What was your reaction when you heard that?
Well, knowing him as I know him, and he's one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life. And
hello? Knowing him as I know him, and he's one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life. Oh my God. Well, do you know what? I don't know what kind of men she's met in her life then. I mean, her father's nothing to go by as well. Her father, he's, as I say, notorious womanizer. He was an embarrassment in the, you know, so he's one of the best men I've ever known in my life. But look at the yardstick that she's got to go by. Epstein, she described him as this fabulous friend, didn't she? And this, that, and the other. Oh my God, let me just get up about her dad because he was a major or something. You know, this is what I mean. All this is coming back to the fore. You know, we have to remember these, that this is the royal family. You know, it's not just her, it's not just Andrew, it's Charles, it's Shamila, it's all of them. And even Willie, he's got his secrets, hasn't he? So Major Ronald Ferguson, that's her dad. Let's have a look. Yeah. So he's another. Stop it, Tia. Right, go on to the bathroom. He's another one with problems with his eyebrows. God, where did they never? What did women ever see in him? Somebody tell me what they ever saw in him. Let me show. Let's have a look at some photos of him. You know, how did women like him? Somebody tell me. Look at his eyebrows. For God's sake. For God's sake. The eyebrows have got a life of their own, haven't they? You know, maybe there's something to do with Ghislaine's hirsute flower. Just, Also, these royal people, don't they even know about sort of trimming your eyebrows, or, you know, haven't they ever heard of lady shaves? It's like, oh God. Look, so I suppose you could say when he was quite young, he was reasonably good looking, but look at the eyebrows. So this is Sarah Ferguson's father. Yeah, a prolific womanizer. You know, just what would any woman see in him? I just don't get. It must be the money. It's got to be the money, isn't it? What else could it be? Or are drugs involved? You know, are drugs involved? Yeah. Yeah, looks like the bald eagle off the Muppets. I just, please tell me what women see in these men. I don't know. No, my very first words to him be, I'm sorry, you're not coming anywhere near me until those eyebrows are dealt with. Just makes me feel ill looking at them. You know, you've got to, you know, unless you're just going to always turn the light off, for God's sake. Aye, so both her and Ghislaine, they haven't got very good male role models, have they? So we've got Sarah saying, look, as she said, Andrew is the best man she's ever known. Whatever.
My best friend and great father to my children. I just thought, I don't understand in this day and age how people can make salacious lies up. And
Oh, I don't understand in this day and age how people can make salacious lies up. Oh my goodness. You mean like going to Pizza Express or whatever? You mean like not being able to sweat? Is that what she means? Salacious lies. Let's have a look. The man who said that he can't sweat. I need to put my picture up of him sweating now. Yeah, those are the sort of salacious lies maybe she's talking about. Yeah, saying you can't sweat. And yeah, somebody's obviously sprayed him with something there then, because he couldn't sweat. Oh my God, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, it's getting beyond the joke now, you know. I mean, not that it was ever a joke, but it's like the depth of it. Honestly, I'm really starting to think this is going to set something in motion that won't be able to be stopped. I think they could take Andrew now and exile him to Timbuktu, and it won't stop this damage that this has all caused to the royal family. And I think it's all going to come out even more. And it won't only be about Andrew. The whole royal family is corrupt. All of it. Shamila, Charlie Boy, even Willie's got he's only acting now because he's trying to save his kingship for later. Why didn't he do something 5 years ago? Why didn't he come out? You know, and people can slag off Prince Harry as much as they want, but he did come out and condemn Andrew at least. You know, and everybody has a go about Harry and Meghan. They haven't been trafficking young girls and doing stuff like that. They just pissed everyone off because they went to live in America because they couldn't stand living in this cesspit. So, yeah, you know, I think it's too late for the royal family. I really do.
how the media actually then write about it and then follow on with it, because I just don't understand. This is defamation of character of a person
defamation.
that is
Defamation of character of a person.
the opposite to how he's being portrayed. So Buckingham Palace put out a denial and
on his behalf,
and that's how it works within the royal family, and they stand by that denial. There is no more.
Oh yeah, well, if Buckingham Palace say so, then it must be true, because they only ever tell the truth, don't they, at Buckingham Palace? Oh my God, when I found this and I thought, oh, this has not aged well for Sarah Ferguson. You know, this interview, trying to say what a fantastic person Andrew is and what a nasty, vicious liar Virginia is and how terrible the media are for pursuing this story. It's not aged well, has it? Because now it's all been vindicated. So Andrew, this fantastic man, borrowed £12 million off his mummy to pay off a woman that he'd never even met.
Or there's nothing more to be said. And
Well,
I think
nothing more to
is
be
just
said.
it is just shockingly accusatory lies, which
Shockingly accusatory lies. Terrible. Oh my God. So this is the woman that tried to sell appointments with Prince Andrew, didn't she? She was videoed doing that. This is the woman that has took millions of pounds from a convicted paedophile over the years. This is the woman that would do anything for money. The woman that went to the PJ Diddy parties took her daughter to one of the PJ Diddy parties. I think I've got that picture somewhere. Oh my God, and she's criticising poor Virginia. Virginia's the baddie. She's the vicious liar. Not this horrible woman. I'm going to find that picture of at the Diddy party. You know, this has really captured my interest because I think this is going to build and build more than before. And even really, it doesn't matter what this family do now, I don't think will make any difference because it's too late. It's too late. So too late to strip them of their titles now. Well, they've not even been stripped of their titles. I have to keep remembering that. Saying they can't use their titles. It's too late. Why wasn't it done years ago? People are you know, it's cut through now to the public. And even people who liked probably traditionally the royal family, they're seeing the reality of what it is. So there's been lots of things coming out. Another thing that I saw about was, I don't know if you know, but the Queen had two cousins that were mentally deficient, and they were put in a home and never visited by any of the royal family. Two cousins that had, you know, mental problems. Again, that's another video that I need to do to look into that more. You know, there's so much with this family, and I think it's all going to come out. And I do think it might be too late. I bloody hope so. I do think maybe it'll be irreversible for this corrupt, horrible, everything about royalty. It's just wrong. Ruling families in a modern society, you know, seeing the king sat there like with that stupid crown, and Camilla, who's can call herself a queen until it comes out her ears, she'll never be a queen in my eyes. You know, they're just playing at it. They're no different from like emperors of years ago or whatever. It's ridiculous. So yeah, so good old Sarah took her daughter, like you would, to one of Diddy's parties. Yeah, what a lovely woman. But it's no, it's Virginia. Virginia's the baddie. Yeah, Virginia's the baddie, according to this woman.
I won't stand by and let anybody believe, or I just have to shut it down right now.
Was it hurt your first?
Oh, shut it down right now. Well, you know, Sarah, what do you think now about this interview, I wonder?
Reaction or anger?
Total fury.
Total fury.
Yes, because we are such a family unit. And you know yourself, Meredith, I think you've interviewed me many times on whatever else they've written about me. So I know what it's like to have this about you and not be able to say, you know, I never did it, I didn't do that, I didn't do this, because then everyone goes, oh yeah, really?
Yeah, because you did do it. Now, what's Sarah gonna do? You know, it's like, because she's another one. She can't go and work in Tesco's, can she? You know, or anywhere. I mean, what's she going to do? And she needs money to fund her expensive lifestyle. Where's she going to get her money from? And is she going to write a book, I wonder? I mean, you know, do you think, I feel like this sort of, like, the royal family are definitely trying to scapegoat Andrew and Fergie. And I believe they deserve it in a way, but also I believe that whole royal family needs scapegoating or exposing. You know, they're just trying to push it all on them. Don't look at us, don't look at us, look at them, look at them. And that might backfire on them, because Sarah might go off, and Andrew, they might go off to America or somewhere and decide to write their own book, like Harry did, and tell the truth about the royal family. You know, it's like it may backfire on them because they know all the secrets of the royal family. Will they come out with it? You know, will they end up sort of thinking, hang on a minute, we're taking all this stick. What about you, Willie? What about you're up to with your pegging and things? What about you're doing? You know, all these things that might come out. I think the royal family could quite easily disintegrate into something. I certainly hope so. Because you know what, I don't think any of them really care about any of the you know, Charles has never cared about women. He never cared about Diana. He never, you know, what he did to her. Shamila doesn't care. They only care about propping up their lifestyle, their, you know, God-given thing to rule. You know, they don't even care really properly about duty and things like that, which I think the Queen always sort of got away with it more, because you always felt like at least she worked hard, and you know, she I don't know now. I mean, she's condoned so much, and I don't think the Queen cared about Diana or anybody else either. You know, they're very cold, and it's probably to do with the way they're brought up. I don't know, but you know, I can't believe that any of them care about Virginia. Has Buckingham Palace come out and said, "Oh, we're so sorry about Andrew's victims"? No, they haven't said that. Nobody's come out and apologised for what happened, what Andrew got himself involved with. No apology. So, you know, it's hard to forgive someone if they don't apologise, isn't it?
The truth is, I want to say it on his behalf, and I want to, for the Beatrice and Eugenie, 26 and 24, and they're beautiful, courageous children. Can you imagine what they've seen with their mother, having gone through negativity in the press, now their father? You know, back off. We
back
are
off.
really...
So we've all got to care about Beatrice and Eugenie, but we can't, you know, they don't care about the young girls that were abused by Jeffrey Epstein. They obviously don't matter because they're not their children. We've all got to worry about Beatrice and Eugenie, you know, because they're just young girls. What about Virginia? She's just a nasty liar, according to Sarah in this interview.
Solid, beautiful family, and that's really it.
So what are you saying in the confines of your home, the four of you?
That we will not be defeated, we are impenetrable, and that we will show by success.
Yeah. So what do you say? We're impenetrable. Somebody made a comment on social media about that and said, "Oh, because she was impenetrable, Andrew had to go and penetrate somebody else." Anyway,
Emily Maitlis joins me now, co-host of Global.
So this is the reality of what's happening now at the moment, isn't it? It's like, you know, I think the royal family is going to implode. I honestly think it. Where are they going to go from here? Because the questions that are going to be asked are, why is it only now that he's been told to relinquish his titles and not abandon them, but just not use them? So now they're all talking. It's all the talk about, he should be stripped of the title of Prince, stripped of the title of Duke of York. Not just not told not to use it, but actually have it taken off him. And of course, that should have that's exactly what should happen. And yeah, I think that's right, Julie. I think you're right. Nothing has changed since Henry VIII times, has it? No, why have we not progressed at all? Or are we finally progressing? Maybe finally things will progress. But yeah, David, I thought that about Gypsy. Gypsy, when she was good at shaving. She should have given Ghislaine some tips on shaving. So that was that interview that I found with Fergie that I thought was very interesting, and I wonder if she cringed perhaps if she saw that video now, or maybe she still thinks Andrew's the best man she's ever known. They're very like that, aren't they, her and Andrew? So, but I think looking at Sarah's father, so I think Sarah personally has got the same problem that Ghislaine has got, that they had terrible fathers. That made them think that these kind of men are okay. Do you think that? Do you think it's just like systemic abuse, isn't it? It's like her father treated her mum like shit, so she didn't think it was a problem that Andrew went off shagging other girls. Anyway, she was off shagging everybody else as well. It's really weird relationships. They've got no morals whatsoever, and then they go around telling other people how to live, like Charlie Boy. Oh, live a simple life. Don't do what I did and marry a girl sort of like bloody 12 years younger than you just so she can give you kids, and then go back to your previous girlfriend that you were always in love with anyway. Gosh, I will not take lessons from people like Charlie Boy or Shamila, all these people telling people how to live their lives and, putting themselves up as something special, something different, waving from a fucking balcony, as if they were gods or something. You know what? They're not nice people. And they put them, and a lot of people will look up to them and, the royal family. Rubbish. They're just people, and they're nasty people because they don't know even what it's like to have to live in the real world. And as much as they can say that they do, any problem that they have, which are they do have problems. Of course, they have health problems, they have losses, bereavements and that, but it's all different for them than when we have those kind of problems. They don't have to. When one of my nieces had cancer and she had to get on a bus in the morning, she would spend all day picking up other cancer patients. They'd go off to the cancer hospital, she'd have a chemo, and then she'd have to come all the way back. Be a whole day of they don't have to do that. So even when they've got those problems that you can't avoid, like money can't stop you getting cancer and things like that, but it can help you they don't have to worry about financial issues. When people get cancer and they start treatment and that, they have to worry about their jobs. Are they going to provide for their families? They don't have to do that. So although they have some similar stresses, they don't have the stresses that most normal people have. They don't have to worry about paying the electric bill. They don't have to worry about paying the water bill. They don't have to worry about putting food on their children's table. They don't have to worry about how they're going to buy the school books for the next year. All these that seem like little things, but they're big things to people that don't have a lot of money or whatever. They don't have to. Their family's got mental health issues. They stick them in an asylum and never go and visit them. That's what the Queen's family did with two of the Queen's cousins. This is the reality of the people that we're talking about, not just Andrew. No, anyway, sorry. So I'm ranting. I've gone into a rant. Oops. So where are we? How long have I been on? So I think we'll listen to a bit of Ghislaine's. I did say I was going to start the interview with Ghislaine. We'll listen to half an hour of it and then I've got to go. So this is the interview of Ghislaine. Oops, sorry, I need to say, sorry, Heather, I don't know why I put that up on there. Hang on. Always pressing the wrong button. Yeah, let's have a look at we're going to do the first half an hour of this interview that Ghislaine Maxwell did with the DOJ.
The fourth, this will be the recording of a proffer agreement of Ghislaine Maxwell from the Deputy Attorney General, DOJ, and the time is currently 9:16. Maxwell and counsel are arriving to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and we will commence the proffer shortly.
I'm going to ask everybody to put their name on the record.
Let me just
Good
fast.
morning.
Okay, we're just confirming that it works, and it does. Miss Maxwell, I guess about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, Mr. Marcus reached out to me and said that you wanted to speak with somebody from the government about not only your case, but about everything that's been in the media and that's been publicized about Mr. Epstein in your case.
That is true, and I did speak to him, and I did ask him did tell him that I was very keen to.
See, she sounds like a child, doesn't she, when she speaks? Now, don't forget, she's never had any children either, so she's still like a child, probably in her head a bit. And she does sound, when she speaks, like a little girl. You know, that's how she seems to me. I think this girl, or woman, because, you know, she's in her 60s now, and none of us like to feel that we're older, but she's got a very girly way about her. But she doesn't care about other girls.
Talk to anyone, because no one from the government at any time ever since the inception of the case, so dating back to the early 2000s, has ever spoken to me, and indeed, I believe ever reached out to me at any time to even speak to me, and that includes up to when I was indicted and prosecuted. I believe that, or I understand, I should say rather, that my attorneys at the time did tell the government that I wanted to speak to them because I was very keen to meet with anyone so that I could tell or have them ask me any question. I've never had any problem to speak to anybody, and I offered myself, and I kept asking if they would meet with me so that I could talk to them, and for whatever reason, that was not happening.
Okay. I have questions that I want to ask you, but I'm not. If there's a path a question that
We are resuming from.
I think should be asked, I invite you to volunteer. Same thing goes to your lawyers. Just to start a little bit, very briefly, can you talk about?
Right, sorry, I'm getting the sound's terrible on that, isn't it? So I didn't realise. So I'm going to have to find one with a better sound, and I'll come back and do it another time, because we have been on quite a while now. But anyway, there you go. Now we know a little bit more about Ghislaine. You know, do we have any sympathy for her or Sarah? Is it the sort of childhood they had and the way they were brought up, or are they older? You know, I can go along with that up to a certain point, you know, because everybody's a bit of a product of their, you know, how they grow up. But I think then as you get older, same with the Eugenie and Beatrice, then surely then you start to see things differently, you know, like Virginia did. You know, Virginia was just a young girl when all this was happening to her. And as time went on, she changed, didn't she? You know, she realised what she'd got into. She had her head turned when she was young. Anybody who says they couldn't have their head turned when they were young, you could easily. But, you know, you grow up, don't you, hopefully. I don't feel that Ghislaine ever grew up. And I don't feel like Sarah has ever grown up, or her daughters. You know, it's just they still got this sense of entitlement. And I don't know what they think they're going to do about it now. It's difficult to feel sorry for them because, you know, they're all in it together. Even Queenie, you know, even Queenie, she knew about it all. She gave him the money. There he is having a great time at the funeral, him and Fergie laughing away. Just unbelievable people. And let's not forget Charlie Boy and his mates from years ago. You know, and let's not forget Lord Mountbatten. There he is with Andrew. Let's not forget these things. You know, if anyone's saying that this family, they've only just, you know, why have they only just turned against Andrew when they've known for years, ever since this photo came out, they've known he was a liar. They'll have known that they'll have watched that interview where he said he didn't sweat. Well, nobody will know better than his family that he does sweat. He did sweat. You know, they know about all the lies. You know, this is what I just think is just, we could be witnessing some sort of gradual disintegration, hopefully, of this ridiculous royal family. Anyway, there you go. That's my opinion. I know you'll all give me your opinion. Hi, angels. Sorry, I'm finishing now, but I hope you have a good day, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, and I will be covering Ghislaine's interview, but I'll find a better audio. See you really soon in the next video. And of course, until then, may your God go with you. Bye.